So, have you ever wondered how God responds when our requests don't align with God's hopes for us? Well, today, as we continue our sermon series, Living and Active, a God Who Does, we'll explore God's response with our less than ideal choices. So imagine this, a typical morning in a household with toddlers. You offer the child a choice, eggs or oatmeal. And your toddler, however, offers you a choice. They've decided today that they will accept nothing but chocolate chip cookies for breakfast. And so no amount of reasoning or cajoling will sway them. And so you try to explain the purpose and the need for a nutritious breakfast, but they give you that look, utter disdain, and then that look of rage. I bet you know that look. And in the end, when you finally find a compromise, a small piece of fruit to go with the oatmeal, your child grudgingly accepts, but eyes that cookie jar with great determination. So as grandparents and parents and godparents, we've all been there. Negotiating with a young child tests our patience and our creativity. We try to bend just enough to stay in relationship with the child while still holding on to the principles that guide their well-being. These moments make you wonder if you ought to have done professional training in mediation and conflict resolution. Well, these moments are also reflected in our first reading today. Samuel, the young boy that we heard about last week who has learned to recognize the voice of God, is all grown up now. And Samuel has become the greatest judge in all of Israel. And he is surrounded and confronted by the Israelites who demand a king. What must it have been like for Samuel as a judge, constantly mediating between God and an unbending people? Because this demand for a king, it troubles Samuel, because as God's chosen and beloved people, God is their king. It is what makes Israel unique. And so Samuel seeks God's guidance to learn how to soften the people's hearts, and God's response is actually quite stunning. Although God disagrees with the request for a king, God instructs Samuel to warn the people, to really warn them of the consequences of what it means to have an earthly king. But ultimately, God says, grant them that king. God assures Samuel that the people are not rejecting him, but rather they are rejecting God. And this decision led to significant consequences: the loss of freedom under God, conscription, civil war, and spiritual and moral decline. God's heart must have been broken. Yet God's grace remained evident. God continued to work through earthly kings and ultimately bringing salvation through the line of David, who leads us to Jesus, the true King and Messiah. And so it seems that we have a beautiful story where God can make a miracle of our messes. God understands our desires, even when they're not in our best interests, and navigates them with grace and with love. God never gives up on us ever, and especially on parents who, like Samuel, often find themselves negotiating, serving as mediators, balancing the needs of their children with their desires. And just as Samuel turned to God for guidance, we too can turn to God for wisdom and for help. And just as God responded to the people of Israel with patience and with understanding and love, God offers us the same patience and grace, especially with raising our children. So today, as we witness Liza's baptism, we're reminded of God's unquestioning love for us, God's ongoing relationship for us, the gift of grace, the forgiveness of sin, and the nurturing of our spiritual journey our whole lives long. So as we reflect on today's story, let's take a cue from Samuel and from God. Let us know that we can seek God's help as we strive to mediate with love and wisdom, recognizing that conflict resolution and grace-filled responses are crucial to maintaining our relationships and helping them grow. Just as God bends to be in relationship with us out of love, may we also learn to bend with grace and love and wisdom, reflecting God's character in every interaction and in all of our beautiful relationships. Amen.